This is Titletown Sound.
If Joe Flacco is worth a fourth-round pick, Antonio Brown might be worth a negative fifth-round pick.
Again, I'm just a fat dude sitting on the couch, but I watch a lot of football.
I'm here to kick ass and make steaks, and I'm all out of steaks.
Year one, he was like, all right, guys, I don't know what Dom taught you, but you need to have 11 guys on the field.
A trained orangutan could have done a better job than Ron Zins. And he's not even well trained.
Welcome, Packers fans, to the Titletown Sound podcast. You are joining us on episode 220 of the podcast. And this is the podcast for fans of the Green Bay Packers and fans of, Thanksgiving. It is Thanksgiving in a mere, day and a half at this point. And so I want to introduce you to one of my co-hosts, a man who, when it comes to Thanksgiving, is all about that based.
No. You had a whole week to come up with that. Yeah. I love Thanksgiving, you guys. I know it seems obvious just, looking at this thing, but I love Thanksgiving.
I'm a fan. And let me introduce our other co-host, a man who once had a turkey in his rock band. You know why, James?
Why is that?
Because he brought his own drumsticks.
But I'm bumped.
Oh, I thought it was because he was a bass player.
That'll work. Gentlemen, this was not a good week to be a Green Bay Packers fan. And just a little housekeeping for those of you who listen to the show in podcast form, audio form, and those of you who are on the live stream. First of all, I'm hearing that on our live video, there's no sound. Unfortunately, there's something I can fix about that. It seems like it's a problem with our Be Live vendor. I'll have to reach out to them. If anybody else can hear us in the chat, let us know. But second of all, Sound Off is going to move to a video-only format, so that'll be on our YouTube page. So we really appreciate if you go and subscribe to our YouTube page. We just don't have enough time to do all the things we do in the show right now, so we're moving that elsewhere. But gentlemen, not a good week. The Packers lose to the 49. I don't even want to think about the final score because it was so brutal. But James, what the hell did this tell us about this Packers team?
So if I'm going to be brutally honest, it's exactly what I expected to happen. And I said it last week and I said it leading up to the game when everybody was all, Green Bay is going to win by 2 touchdowns. It's going to be a blowout. And I didn't understand it then. I thought it was a lot of wishful thinking. I've watched a lot of 49ers over the season because, to be completely honest with you, up until this past Sunday, I actually enjoy watching the 49ers. They're a fun team to watch when they're not kicking your team's ass.
They are.
So I expected, I figured that they would be able to shut down the passing game pretty well. They have a really good secondary. I thought Aaron Jones might be able to, or the running game might be able to keep it close at least. And then, LaFleur went full McCarthy and just forgot that he had running backs. And and then it just kind of all went downhill from there.
All right, Kevin. So tell me about your initial takeaway from that game.
So I think that it was a little bit disheartening in the way that they lost the game. I don't think that the loss itself was unexpected. I feel like the team took on the persona of the head coach, a rookie head coach, in this particular match. They were not poised, shall we say. They were not good, shall we say. There were so many things that were rough around the edges, let's put it that way, that I feel like this is the one game this season where they've really they looked like they were being coached by a rookie head coach.
Oh, that and the game against the Chargers. Both of those games. And James, one thing I want to talk about is did this game expose fundamental flaws with this team. And the first thing I want to talk about is talent-wise. On offense, does this team have fundamental flaws, especially at the wide receiver position?
Yes, they do. And we knew that. I think anybody who thought any differently was fooling themselves. Devontae Adams obviously is, all pro level. He's, top 5 or
but
so
even Adams hasn't been playing fantastically well.
Well, no, but I mean he's been good. He hasn't been like Devontae Adams this year, but he also missed a bunch of time. But I mean, ideally you wouldn't want your number 1 wide receiver catching his first touchdown pass in week 11. But then you get past Adams, and who do you got? But I'm gonna have a stroke here, I think, because I'm like, this makes me so mad.
Look, I don't want you to have a stroke, James, but if you're going to have a stroke, have it on the live stream.
Oh yes, look. If any of you know, have any thrombolitics you want to throw my way,
I believe we have a show title. Thrombolitics. Google that.
Geronimo Allison. What the hell is he still doing on this team? What is he doing? Why is he there? He's useless. So after the game, Richard Sherman from the 49ers said they were very confident they could take away the Packers passing game, and they were really focused on Aaron Jones. Now, when you watch the tape back, when you look at, they had linebackers covering Geronimo Allison, and Geronimo Allison couldn't get open. They were putting their cornerbacks on Aaron Jones out of the backfield, and they had linebackers on Geronimo Allison. And Geronimo Allison could not beat a linebacker one-on-one on more than one occasion. And then when he did get the ball, he's like a yards after catch black hole. Like it's
where Yak goes to die.
It's where Yak goes to die, and it just withers away into atoms, and you never see it again. And it's so frustrating to see wide receiver screens thrown to Geronimo Allison, 5-yard crossing routes, Geronimo Allison, all these plays that you're supposed to get yards after you catch. He's got a wide receiver body with Richard Rodgers talent, and it drives me absolutely insane. And I want him off the team. He's just awful.
And he's kind of got a silly, like a long face too. He kind of has like a horse face.
Maybe it's wind resistance that keeps him from running fast.
I mean,
I know that's real hard hitting analysis here, but he's kind of a silly looking guy. I mean, as a silly looking guy, I can.
He's got like a sail face, and it just keeps the wind just like pushes back on him.
So here's what the receiving core did in this game. Okay, first of all, the receiving core. Well, first of all, the passing game was just awful. But here's the thing. We should have expected it because the 49ers simply don't give up passing yards. They don't. But outside of Adams, so Devontae Adams targeted 12 times, only 7 receptions. That is a bad night for Devontae Adams. For a total of 43 yards.
God, it's so pathetic.
They had something like 2.1 yards per completion. I mean, it was 5.2 yards per completion. 5.2 yards. If you have 5.2 yards per rushing attempt, you're happy, but not for a pass completion, right? Jamal Williams was the best receiver on the night, 7 for 8 for 35 yards. 7 for 8. Allison with 3 receptions, Tanyan with 2. MVS with 1, Jimmy Graham with 1, Lazard with 1. Why don't they use Alan Lazard more? What happened to the man? Actually, Todd asks in our chat, what happened to him? They used him on a rushing play that was fairly successful, very successful. But what happened, James? What the hell are they doing?
It's like you said, the 49ers are really, really good at covering wide receivers. They just have a really good secondary. And Alan Lazard he's a really good rookie wide receiver or free agent wide receiver. He's not in that tier where he can take on those types of defenses one-on-one and win matchups. You have to scheme guys like him open, and when you don't scheme them open successfully, they go away, and that's what happened. I mean, it was Devontae Adams or bust really for most of the game. So
here's things that we might not have realized when you're watching the game. The the Packers actually win the time of possession battle. 35-25. And still
by 10 minutes?
And still get their asses handed to them. I'll look that up. But 35-16 to 24-44, the Packers win time of possession, and they still get their asses handed to them. So let's go back to talking about, again, kind of some of those fundamental flaws. Kevin, California is not cold weather. Am I wrong? I mean,
well, it depends on the part of California, but
on average, right. 63 degrees at kickoff, and J.K. Scott can't hit a punt past 37, 38 yards. What the hell happened to him?
I think maybe there's some sort of wing injury that he's undisclosing.
Really? I mean, but what? How do we account for a punter who's playing like an offensive weapon at the beginning of the season? And then James, now he's terrible.
The only thing I can think of that would account for such a sudden and dramatic loss of performance is an injury, and he hasn't been on the injury report all year,
or he hit puberty finally,
or he's really confused about where he's at in his life, and it's really taking a toll on him. He notices that girl in the fourth row, and he just can't.
But beyond Scott, which is bad enough, there's fundamental issues with special teams. I mean, I want to look up their punt return numbers, but I know that of the 2 punt returns they had a total. Oh yeah, that's right. So 2 punt returns, gentlemen, for a total of -3 yards. If you're keeping score at home, that is -1.5 yard per punt.
The Packers on the season, they came into this game with -9 punt return yards on the year. So now they're at -12 for the year. For the year. It's week 12. They have -1 yard of punt return for every week. How?
All right. So Christopher Norris joins us in the live chat. And he says, and this is something we want to talk about, middle linebacker is an issue. They should upgrade in the offseason and let Martinez go. James, you had that on our show rundown. Talk about Mr. Blake Martinez, who, by the way, had what I believe is his first recorded tackle for loss in that game. But tell me about his performance and what you see at that middle linebacker position.
Blake Martinez seems like a really nice dude. Like, I don't want to disparage him as a human being. He seems like a good guy. As a football player, he's bad, guys. He's not great. He's not what the Packers need. Maybe in a different scheme, he might work out better. I don't know. But as long as he has been the starting middle linebacker on the Green Bay Packers, there have been acres of land wide open. Acres.
Tracts of land.
Yes, just generous. Like it's like Wyoming. Everywhere Blake Martinez is supposed to cover, it's like Wyoming. There's nobody there. And then so tight ends and running backs can just go there. They can set up a camp. They can, they can do like I don't know. They could build like restaurants and shopping malls, and he's not going to stop them.
Basically, there's a game of Sim City going on in the middle of the field, is what you
basically. I mean, it's horrible, but he's always there 6 yards down the field when he needed to tackle. I mean, and then there you go. He leads the NFL in tackles, and now, oh my God, Blake Martinez, he's a tackle machine.
But I think people are starting to see through that, right? They're starting to realize that Blake Wyoming Martinez is not a player that people think. You can't just look at the stats. You have to look. You know what, Kevin? You know where Blake Martinez would be great in a friggin' prevent defense. He would be amazing because you're only going to get like 8 yards, but you're okay with that. But he's not. He's never, with the exception of the sack that he had, he's never making a tackle for loss. And this middle linebacker core is soft. It's not good.
So, yes, Blake Martinez is not a great linebacker, right? But a tackle for a loss also is on the defensive line.
Well,
you can't get your guys blocked. You can't make a tackle for a loss. So, I mean, the defensive line also has some issues, too, in that regard.
Oh, yeah.
So, he's not being helped out by the defensive line. But he also has coverage deficiencies. So, I mean,
that's like I have health.
I think
proficiencies.
I mean, I think that obviously the Packers would like to upgrade at linebacker. It's middle linebacker. That's definitely a position to upgrade at in the offseason.
You know what? I'd be fine to have Blake Martinez on a team as a complementary middle linebacker where you've got a starter, but he's not the guy. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I'm not looking at the rundown or anything, but I think another thing that we need to keep in mind is that I think this team has overachieved a little bit, and not necessarily in a bad way, but in a place where we didn't expect them to be. We signed a bunch of players for the defense. One of them was not middle linebacker. That might come at the end of this year, but I think that there is, it couldn't be 11 new guys from last year to this year. And so I think one of the weaker links is still there and is still being exposed.
Yeah, and when you have like probably the greatest tight end in the game right now playing against you, it's really going to get exposed.
I've been going to the gym. Thanks. I appreciate that. That's a nice
Let's talk about some other was this team just out coached, James, on Sunday night?
It was like watching an NFL coaching squad versus your average Madden player. It was terrible, awful in every realm that could be out coached. And it's going to happen. And that's the thing. That's what I tried to say last week. Right? I tweeted this out earlier this week. I expected the Packers to lose, but it's not the end of the world because you have this juggernaut in San Francisco that's like clearly on their way to the moon, and they're facing a rookie head coach. These things are going to happen, and people have to be patient and just kind of and understand that Matt LaFleur, he's learning on the job, and yes, there were adjustments that needed to be made and I can't believe they weren't made at halftime. I'm really disappointed in Mike Pettin. The last couple games,
yeah.
last like 3 games, really. The Carolina game was okay, all right, but the Chargers game and this game, I'm really disappointed in Mike Pettin because it's like he kind of waits and he wants the Smith brothers to do all the work up front and then pray to God that his secondary can hold up their end of the bargain. And Kevin King isn't doing that, and there's just so many deficiencies. There's so many areas where, and again, we're talking about an 8-3 team. It's not like we're talking about, they're good, but in terms of where they want to get to, where they want to be, they're not there yet. And a lot of it is because of the coaching.
All right, really cool. This is something that I have to share because this is awesome. Gary McDonald is in the live chat, and he is listening from Scotland at 3:22 a.m. And
wow,
it's already Wednesday there. So, Gary, if you could tell us, give us like lottery numbers. What could something, because you're like a day. That's how it works, right?
Thank you very much.
It's almost the top of the morning.
We appreciate your listening to us. In my brain, everybody from Scotland sounds like Sean Connery.
It says Gary has signed out of the chat, so I don't know what that. I'm kidding. Yeah, so I think you bring a decent perspective to this. Look, at the same time, while I'm pissed at the way this team performed, I mean, there's nothing worse than staying up for you stay up Sunday night to watch this game. You're excited. You've waited. I waited all day for Sunday night. It's in the goddamn song. And then they come out there and they drop a turd at the 50-yard line. I'm sorry. They rarely approach the 50-yard line. They dropped a turd at the 35. And you're like, what am I watching? Well, at the same time, this team is not a disaster. We don't have to start firing everybody. We don't have to. This is not time to panic and freak out. Kevin, it's time for perspective. This is an 8-3 team that last year didn't have a winning record, didn't make the playoffs, and were awful to watch almost every game.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think we're in the right direction. And the Packers had a good record going into the game, and that kind of, I think, affected some people's view of the outcome of this game because they're still in a good position. They're still, in control of their playoff destiny. And
I don't think a lot of us expected them to be, except for you, Chris, expected them to be in this particular position anyway at this point.
Even I didn't.
Right. I mean, when you go through the schedule like we did, and you came up with 15 wins and -3 losses, then it tends to be a little bit skewed. But yours was actually pretty decent, and they've won the games that they're supposed to win, and that's the reason why they haven't done that. They didn't really do that last year at all. And by the games that they're supposed to win, I mean they stay in. They're close to the game, and they're the victor versus falling.
Well, and here's the way the 49ers are designed in a way that played very poorly against the Packers. James, the 49ers are designed to get their front four after the quarterback. And if they can do that, they're going to win the game, right? So what happened in this game? Well, not only were the Packers on the road against a really good team, but then they lose Brian Bulaga. Right. So immediately now this is a play to the strengths of your opponent, because now they're going through a deficient line. And that was a big storyline. And I really believe football is such a momentum game and such a heart game. That first drive where you fumble and give away 7 points, James, is devastating on the road, especially.
Oh, absolutely. Losing Bulaga was huge against that team. Just absolutely. Alex Light, who I think will and can be a really good, offensive lineman. I don't think he's a Don Barclay or a Jason Spriggs at all. He just was overmatched. He had Nick Bosa and just all these all pro level or Pro Bowl level defensive players on him all game long. And, and I think that was the snowball. That was, so. I mean, Bulaga was still in the game, but Rodgers fumbles at the 2. They get the ball, they score. Okay, we get the ball back, we don't do anything with it. And then Bulaga gets hurt, and then now all of a sudden Rodgers does what he's always done his whole career, which is he starts to press more and he starts to hold the ball longer and he starts to look for things that aren't going to develop because you're playing such a good defense. When he gets a chance to, because otherwise he's running for his life. And so he gets the yips, and then you don't get optimal Aaron Rodgers out of it. The coaching LaFleur didn't do anything to get Rodgers any help. Didn't help out Light at all with any chipping or any sort of help up. Yeah. It was just a monumental implosion on all those fronts, and that's actually a good thing, I think, you guys, because it takes a certain set of circumstances for those things to happen. It's like a chain. It's like when an airplane crashes, they say there's a chain, and if any link in the chain is broken, the airplane doesn't crash. Well, for this, it's the same. Like if any link in the chain isn't broken, or is broken, then this isn't going to happen. It's not going to happen every game. It's not going to happen a lot, even in the playoffs. So I think, if there's any good for me that I can take from it, it's that. I don't think we're going to see this monumental of issues game in, game out.
And another thing that I saw after this game was immediately, this team is not a Super Bowl team. You know what? Here's the thing. 30 teams out there are not Super Bowl teams, right? But this team, just like any other, and maybe I'm just like the ultimate optimist, and I always have the rose-colored glasses on, but Kevin, this team, like any other team, can get hot and can beat a team like the 49ers in the playoffs. And who knows? I mean, is that just being overly optimistic?
No, I mean at 8-3 right now, they're in the position to have a home game in the playoffs. So yeah, I mean, you win one home game in the playoffs, and then you win one more game in the playoffs, and then you're in the Super Bowl. It's really it's like you get hot, and you don't necessarily have to be the best team. You just have to be the best team that particular day.
James Hamblin says the Nationals were 19-31. And then what happened with them?
They won that series of the world.
So I just hate the overwhelming negativity and just like the doom and gloom when this team loses. Because guess what? This loss by 140 points means as much as a loss by 2 points. There are no style points in the NFL. You got the same record, and this team they should have lost this game. They should have. They're playing a very good team on the road. they just lost it in such a fashion that it made you want to vomit. But this loss doesn't count more than other losses. I guess so. We go from talking about the fundamental flaws with this team to try to talk about how it's not all is not lost. I mean, this team is much better than we expected. So, James, I think you want to talk about a little Twitter poll that you did.
Yes. So yesterday, let me preface this by saying sometimes I feel when the Packers aren't playing well that it's like we're fighting two battles. Like I have to watch, or I don't have to, but I'm watching this thing that I love just absolutely crap the bed. And then I turn to Twitter, which is where I like to go to vent my feelings, and I see 8 million people with completely and unbelievable opinions about fire LaFleur. He's 8 games into his career. Fire, fire this coach or that coach, or they're too soft, or they're this, or they're never going to win again. So
if you do feel that way, if you're mad at LaFleur, I encourage you to go to firelafleur.com.
Yes, go there.
Anyway.
Great articles on that website from 2016. So I put up a Twitter poll yesterday, about 24 hours ago, and it says, I want if the Packers go 13-3 or 12-4 and then lose in the first round of the playoffs, was this season a success? Just cut and dry, black and white, yes or no? 535 people voted, which is probably my most voted on poll of all time. I was really impressed. 55% of people who voted that the season would be a success, and 45% voted that it wouldn't. And in a lot of the replies, I got what I was expecting, which was it's Super Bowl or bust. If you don't win a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, then the season is a waste. And to those people, if I can editorialize and get on the soapbox for just 30 seconds, I would like to say, find another team. Go somewhere else. I don't want to teach you how to fan. I don't want to be that guy that tells you how to fan. I hate that. But if your expectation from the moment the season begins until the moment it's over is they have to win the Super Bowl or it's just a waste of time, guess what, buddy? You're going to be wasting your time 98% of your life watching professional sports. Find something else to do. Take up a hobby, knit, build a remote control helicopters. Do something, because this ain't it. This ain't it.
Wow. Kevin?
Let's cut the break.
But I agree. And the way this team has performed, I think you got to say, look, the playoffs, making the playoffs. And I know that, look, here's the problem. We're conditioned that with Aaron Rodgers as our quarterback, the playoffs are a guarantee. They're not, right? He's not in his, he's not past his prime too much. He's not in his prime anymore. He doesn't have the receiving core around him he once did. And to make the playoffs is not a guarantee. If this team makes the playoffs, I'd say if this team wins the division, so I think 12-4, 13-3 is going to win you the division. If this team wins the division, no doubt this is a successful year. If they squeak in as a wild card, I don't know. How do you feel about it, Kev?
So if they squeak in a wild card and then go on the road and play a game and lose, it's going to be unsuccessful because they lost the road playoff game. I think it all has to be relative. Like, the players take it week by week, or at least they say they do, So I think we should kind of do the same thing, just take it week by week. And if they win and they're in good position to make the playoffs, then great, and enjoy it in that week. And, I find it hard to believe if the Packers lose their next, the next however many games they play. I'm very bad at math. 5 games, right? Is that right?
Yeah. Wait,
yes.
they're 8-3.
Yeah. Yes.
8-3 is 11. 16. Yeah,
right.
5.
Right.
So if they lose their next 5 games, then it's not a successful season, right? But if they finish with 12 wins, then yeah, of course it is, because they were nowhere near that last year.
Right. No, I agree. All right. Anything else that we need? God, anything else we need to talk about before we put this chapter behind us, James?
It just boggles my mind. It boggles my mind. This is the last I'm going to save it. I'm sorry. I've been saving this up for like 4 days. So, 2 days. Feels like 4 since the game. I've been saving this up since the end of the game on Sunday. It boggles my mind that there are people out there that watched the Packers the last year, 2 years, really. But especially last year where they went 6-9-1. Which was not nice at all, really. Nobody was satisfied with that 6-9. Like they watched that last year. They watched their team just completely clean house, get rid of McCarthy, get rid of Capers and Zook and everybody else, bring in these free agents, which they haven't done in 1,002 years. They're going to go, in my opinion, at worst 12-4, and they have a potential to go 13-3, a really good shot at 13-3. Yeah. And yet people are still like, that is not good enough. I am not satisfied. It boggles my mind. Go be a Patriots fan then if that's what you want. If that's what you want,
right?
Go there. But enjoy the. Yeah, I don't know. I'm worked.
I wonder if he's boggled.
I'm worked up
with all of these naysayers and those who doubt the Packers. What would Jake Taylor say is left to do?
Win the whole goddamn thing.
I believe it's effing, but I appreciate you not making me bleep that out.
Do you guys want to say, before we do the next thing, do you guys want to see my LaFleur impersonation from the game?
Yes.
Okay.
Sure.
That's it. Just really scared. He did not look very comfortable over there.
31-43. That'll become the YouTube thumbnail. All right, just taking notes for myself. All right, before we go to break, let's mention our OG patrons. These are the people that really keep this show going. And if you want to become a patron, you can go to patreon.com/TTSO, and you will be able to help support the show financially. It helps keep us going. And we will mention your name on the show. If you're an OG, we'll mention your name every show. Same with our Hall of Famers. Now, and I believe, Kevin, if my math is correct, and by math, I mean just looking at the website, we have a new OG who has self-promoted this week.
We do. So the bad news is I guess we lose a Hall of Famer, but the good news is we gain an OG.
Exactly. It's tough math. Yeah.
It's the circle of life, really.
Tell us about our OGs.
All right. So now we have a sextent of OGs. That's 6 of them.
You know we do.
Okay. Our first one is Scott Neer. So although turkey is one of the more polarizing holiday meats, some people think it's dry, some people don't really like it, some people do. It actually used to be much worse. The first Thanksgiving was originally planned to be an all-you-can-eat foie gras buffet, but Scott nixed that and planned and negotiated turkey as the main course.
Smart. That's
yeah.
He's a time traveler. He's not very old, in case there was any question. I mean, he's not 400 years old, guys. He's a time traveler. Come on. Question number 2. I mean, wrong thing. Jason Hicks. Jason's high school nickname was Plymouth Rock. Milo Mead Song. Of all of our patrons, Milo is probably the most generous during the Thanksgiving and Christmas season. Every year, Milo co-chairs the adult toy drive in his hometown. Everyone always looks forward to this event, and it always generates tons of buzz. You guys like that one? That was a pretty good one. I got to admit, that was a good one.
That was good.
All right, our next one, James Hamblin, heavy on the B. Although I was a little bit light on that B, heavy on the B. James Hamblin, that's heavier. Okay. James. Oh, yep. Check my levels here. Hamblin. Yeah, that's good. James's favorite holiday is Thanksgiving. In particular, he loves to gather with his friends and play games, regular games. Among some of his favorite are Guess Who, Connect 4, and Pound the Pilgrim. Chris, not Christofko or James Corsmo. Chris's job is to make the cranberry sauce with a little knife, makes the ridges in each one, and then puts it in the can and sends it away. And finally, our former Hall of Famer, now OG patron, Jeff Augustine. Jeff creams his own corn.
so to speak. All right. Thanks to all of our OGs. Thanks to all of our patrons. You can join them as well. We're going to go to break. We'll be back in about, let's say, a minute and a half or so. And we'll talk about, when we come out of the break, we'll talk about the Giants game upcoming and how this team really is set up to go 13-3 at this point. And hopefully it'll be happier times. They're playing the Giants. It's, Giants, they're bad. All right. So we'll be back after this commercial break. Stay with us. We love all of you. Except for you. Did you know that you can help support our show financially without any additional cost to you? Well, if you use Amazon, and let's face it, who doesn't? You can go through our Amazon affiliate link, and we'll get a small portion of the proceeds. You pay nothing extra, and you still get your awesome stuff delivered in like 2 days. So go to www.titletownsoundoff.com/Amazon. And just order like you normally would, and you help the show. That's www.titletownsoundoff.com/Amazon. Happy shopping.
If you would like to support the show and help others find it, give us a review and a rating. Go to Apple Podcasts and write something nice and give us 5 stars. Thanks.
We're back. And now let's talk about some happier stuff. One of those things we want to talk about, James, is our Hall of Famers. These are our patrons, again, that we mention every show because they keep this place running. They keep the lights on. Talk about our Hall of Famers.
Oh, those Hall of Famers. I feel sad because I'm down one now, but I'm happy. I'm happy because Kevin gained one. So we have, for our Hall of Famers, we have Paul Goldsack, who I believe is from the UK. Thanksgiving doesn't mean a lot to him. However, he did donate a whole bunch of maize to us this year, so we'll have to get on that. It's delicious maize. Kyle Turpening, who, I just want to say he has the remnants of the Mayflower in his backyard. He uses it as an herb garden. Nick,
like more historical. But
no, I mean, you just take them and plant your sage in there. Nick, not John Glenn. He's still not John. He's working on it. He loves stuffing so much. And then there's DJ Lightfoot, who sorry, I got myself on that one. There's
all right, Jimmy Fallon.
yeah. I'm breaking the fourth wall here, guys. DJ Lightfoot, who he is one of those people who doesn't ever let his food touch on his Thanksgiving plate. You know those people that want other people their food touch.
Yeah,
I know people who get the disposable partitioned plates.
Yes,
so their food doesn't touch.
So he doesn't let his food touch until it hits his stomach, and then that's it. I almost went with 6 because I'm used to it, but that's all.
Did you mention Will? Was Will the last one you mentioned?
Did I say Will? Oh, Will. I didn't see it. Will, I love you. I'm going to mention you twice then. Will Zin Savage, who he shows up every Thanksgiving dressed as Miles Standish.
All right.
I played Miles Standish in a 7th grade not fair play, actually.
So before we get to talk about the Giants game, there is one we want to do, one of our newest segments, and that is the David Bakhtiari 69 of the week.
69, dudes!
Nice.
69!
Nice.
So if you're not familiar with this, the 69 of the week is where we combine two stats, or sometimes we get what's called a natural 69, and we highlight it. This week, if you take the temperature at kickoff plus the number of times the Packers punted, you get 69.
That's a sad one.
It was 4 degrees at kickoff and the 63 at kickoff. All right, let's talk about the Packers at the Giants. James, I don't know if you're familiar with the term slumpbuster.
Not only am I familiar with it, I've played the part.
The Giants are an NFL slumpbuster. They are what, 2 and whatever. They're terrible. Statistically, this team is about as bad as it gets. So let's take a look at their offense, averaging 19.7 points per game. That puts them 24th in the league. They're 25th in yards per game. They are 219.5 passing yards per game, puts them at 22nd, and 95.5 rushing yards at 21st. So not even mediocre in any category on offense. James, this defense should get its confidence back after this game.
My only fear is that we're their slump buster. No, I'm kidding. Daniel Jones, I think might be good later, but right now he's still a rookie and still learning his way.
Either, to be fair, there's not a whole lot of talent.
Oh, true. I mean, he has Saquon Barkley, who, everybody last year anointed him the next great running back of the world, and this year, I don't think he's done all that well. So, but wide receiver wise, I couldn't name one New York Giants wide receiver. They have Evan Ingram at tight end. I only know that because he's on all my fantasy teams. He's good. I know he's good, which frightens me because we don't do so hot against those tight ends. So I know if Evan Ingram comes back this week, I know he's been hurt the last couple. That could be a problem. But
you mentioned Barkley, who was anointed the second coming. He's only averaging 3.9 yards per carry this year. Pretty pedestrian for a guy who's supposed to be a marquee running back. But Kevin, this team, the Giants. It's not statistically or record wise, but this is a must win for this Packers team, right? I mean, they have to win this game.
Yeah, I think that when you look at at least when I look at my teams, I don't judge them by the initial loss, right? It's how they respond to that loss. If they lose again, then you can start to panic a little bit. But everybody's going to lose a game here or there. And so, the loss to the 49ers, that's not the huge issue for me. It's if they lose this game, then it's a huge issue. But I do expect them to not lose against the Giants. If they do, then maybe we have a bit of a situation developing.
Oh, no, and I mean that. I don't believe in must wins. But I believe this week they have to win this game. They have to come back against a team they're supposed to beat, even if it's on the road. And if they don't win this game, that's a really bad sign. The Giants on defense, not much better than their offensive statistics. They give up 28 points per game, which puts them at 29th in the league. They give up 377.5 yards a game, 260 pass. They give up double the passing yards per game that the 49ers give up. That's how different these two teams are. The Packers should be able to take advantage of it. And James, do you agree? If they don't win this game, again, maybe not for playoff purposes, it's statistically important, but this is a must win for this team.
My biggest fear for this game is that I'm confident the Packers are going to win. My biggest fear is that they only win by 3. Because then it's going to be the worst of both worlds. The Packers are going to get on the stat sheet, but the narrative is still going to be, well, the Giants suck. They got blown out by the 49ers and they barely beat the Giants. What's going on? The Packers are terrible. I would really, really like if the Packers could come out this weekend and just have
make a statement. Make a statement that they're bad.
Just have a statement.
Yeah, that they paid attention to how bad that loss was, and they want to do something about it. Yeah, this was a game I initially thought about going to, and then I checked how expensive it is to pay for Christmas gifts for your kids. So I'm going to stay home and watch this one on the couch.
You're getting Christmas gifts for my kids? Nice, thanks.
my kids.
Oh, well, you said your kid. My bad. I misunderstood.
Your proverbial kids, if you will.
Oh.
Will you?
I don't know what proverbial is. That's like from the Bible, right?
All right. You know what? I don't know that we have to spend that much more time on this Giants game. Anything else we should watch out for, like Eli Manning on the sidelines making faces? What else is there to worry about in this game?
J.K. Scott, for the love of God, punt the ball more than 35 yards.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, we did have some voicemails this week. If you are a listener or a viewer to this show and you would like to have your voicemail on the air on the show, call us at 920-445-TTSO. That's 920-445-TTSO. And let's go to the first. We only have 2 voicemails this week. The first one is from Will, Hall of Famer, Zine Savage. It's actually Zine Savage, but whatever.
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Will Z here calling on Friday, I think the 22nd. Meant to call in yesterday, missed the show, tried to call in before yesterday, but I didn't make it. Oh well. So I want to start this message off with the phrase "timonium pandemonium." I hope you get a kick out of that. And then not this episode, not the most recent episode, but the one I think it's called Snow Globe. You guys brought up a Packers-Ravens Super Bowl and how that would be. And it's funny you say that because when I was younger, from like Madden 05 to like 09 is when I really, really played it. Half the time I was really big into the franchise mode. So half the time when I would play, of course my team would make the Super Bowl. But more times than not, the Ravens would always be the AFC contenders. And I would always laugh. I'd say, if there was ever a Ravens-Packers Super Bowl, at least if the Packers lost, Ed Reed would get a Super Bowl, And that was really the only good part about that. But now that obviously Ed Reed ain't there, I'd be devastated. Because, Ravens are like my number 2, but I still would not want the Packers to lose the Super Bowl to them. And, of course, Ed Reed ain't there no more, so that would be the only positive outcome for me, in my opinion. But anyway, so on to Greg Jennings' topic from your Innuendo or whatever episode.
Innuendo.
Greg Jennings is one of my favorite players. During the time he was with us. And it's sad how it's come to the way it is now, because that was really a good quarterback to wide receiver tandem there. But yeah, Greg Jennings needs to get over his feelings and man up.
Thanks, Will. I edited out a little bit because he then started prognosticating about the game that we got our butts handed to us in. But he also had another good idea that I edited out so that we can steal it and not give him any credit. No, I'll bring it up. So for those of you listening, Will is from Balmer, Maryland, where which is where Kevin and I are both from, and he was testing his accent. See, I didn't think, Kevin, you're the expert, but when he said timonium pandemonium, I didn't think his accent came out as well as when he said Super Bowl.
Yeah, Super Bowl. Yeah, he's got a really nice accent. Will you have a really good accent. Will, it's not it's not cartoony. Your A's aren't too ridiculous.
Right.
But you've got the way that you end some of your words is classic, and I love it. It's like it. Obviously I'm from the area, but I don't really have the accent as much. But I love it so much.
Well, that was years of vocal training. We went to finishing school. That's
true.
All right, we got another call. This is from Gabe. Here he is.
Hey y'all, this is Gabe here calling after the loss to the San Francisco 49ers, losing 37-8. Well, my thought on all this is that, it just was another game where they laid an egg and they weren't prepared, but, it's best to just, like I said, get this out of the way than this happening in January. So, but I'm not in a panic, like pretty much, with all due respect to the listeners, but, and to y'all, most of the fan bases, it's kind of like, we lose bad and it's like, oh, we suck again, But no, not in this case. We're 8-3. We're still top of the division. Yes, I know that the Vikings are right there, but the best thing we could do is just forget about this and just move on to the next. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much all I have. So yeah, that's all that. Good night. God bless, and go Pack go.
I feel like Gabe needs to give us a callback number so we can just text him, make sure he's okay.
Yeah, depressed post-loss Gabe worries me sometimes. But I've seen him interacting online since the game. I think he's okay.
Yeah, he tweeted me today, so I know he's all right.
Okay, good, Gabe. We were a little worried about you because it was a tough loss. It was brutal. I hate games like that. I hate games where from the very beginning it's over. And that game, and I tried to stay friggin' rosy during that game, but I tried to say, look, they fumbled on the 4. We gave away 7. It'll be fine. They'll come back. This is not Mike McCarthy, but guess what? It felt a lot like I thought we weren't going to talk about this anymore. We weren't. I wasn't going to do this.
Chris, I like your shirt. Are we wearing? Beauty.
We were wearing the same shirt. Beauty. But are you wearing?
I didn't get the memo.
Here's a treat for those of you on the live stream. Are you wearing some sweet pajamas from the Goodwill?
No, I'm just wearing standard run-of-the-mill drawstring sweatpants.
I just realized this got a button fly with only one button, so that could have been very dangerous on the live stream. All right, we got Papa K. He called in, and I love his calls after losses like this because I think when it comes to football, he's well grounded. When it comes to the rest of life, but football, well grounded. Here he is, Papa K.
Hi. This is Bill Kostofka calling after the San Francisco 49ers drubbed the Packers Sunday night. No ranting and raving, screaming, this team stinks, we're going to hell in a handbasket. None of that. Fortunes in the NFL can change so quickly with injuries and so many other things. Not going to write this team off and any of that kind of stuff, but there are some observations that I would like to make. First of all, it seems to me this team is better than the last 2 years' teams. I think this team should have a shot at the playoffs, a decent shot at the playoffs, whether or not they win the division. But I don't think the Packers are, as currently constituted, a Super Bowl team. But let's get in the playoffs and see what happens. That's what happened in 2010, and you never know. But there are some things that are worrisome. The first thing to me was that the 49ers really pushed the Packers around, pretty much obliterated the offensive line with their pass rush, and the Packers were not able to get any kind of a running game going. The issue that is raised with me is, can the Packers really compete with the really physical teams of the NFL, San Francisco and Baltimore, for example? I'm going to say that the jury is still out on that, but it certainly didn't look good Sunday night that this is a team that can compete with the really big physical teams of this league. Another thing that is worrisome to me is that now that Devontae Adams is back, I believe he's gotten 33% of the target share since he has returned. But the lack of involvement by the other wide receivers, and now even Aaron Jones Sunday night, is worrisome. Why can't more players be incorporated into this offense? Is it because Rodgers is mostly only comfortable throwing the ball to Adams and secondarily to Aaron Jones? What about the other guys? Marcos Valdez-Scantling and Geronimo Allison, do they not have what it takes? And we've talked about from the beginning of the year the Packers needing more downfield targets, more downfield weapons. That certainly seems to be the case. Another thing, too, is there's so little production from the tight end position. And, of course, we saw the difference with George Kittle in San Francisco and Jimmy Graham with the Packers. Nothing against Jimmy Graham. He's been a very good NFL player, but age and injuries have really taken their toll with him. We wonder what Robert Tonyan and Jace Sternberger can bring to this offense. I hope we have a chance to see, because it seems, unfortunately, the case that Jimmy Graham's best days are well behind him, and the Packers need to move on, especially in trying to get more downfield speed, more downfield action to set up more scoring chances for this team, for this offense. Another thing that is worrisome, and I understand it's really early for Rashawn Gary, but he only played 13 snaps against San Francisco and didn't record a single statistic. No tackles, no assists, no quarterback hurries, nothing. Wonder, he's also only played 20 or more snaps in 2 of the 12 games so far this year. Now, I know it's way too early, and we're not using the B word for bust at all, but just wonder what Gary is going to bring to this team. I know they want to transition him to an outside linebacker. I really hope that he's able to add something, because when you pick 12th in the draft, you really got to get a lot from that pick. So now it's on to the New York Giants. We'll see how this team rebounds. They've shown some gutsy play during this season to get this 8-3 record, especially being 4-0 while Devontae Adams was out. And the loss against San Francisco shouldn't take away from the accomplishments the team has made. They are 8-3 after all, and in the playoff hunt. We shouldn't draw too many conclusions from the 49er game, but there are some very worrisome aspects to it. And to me, the biggest one is, can they really stand up to one of the most physical teams in the league? Thanks for listening. Good night.
I think there's a lot of good stuff to think about in there. And part of it is, James, can they play against these physical teams?
They got out. They just got beat up on Sunday for sure. Philadelphia beat them up, and Los Angeles, the Chargers, beat them up too. I think their game is predicated on timing, and both on defense and offense. It's all about timing and being where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. And when you play teams like San Francisco or Balmer, I'm from Wisconsin. I have a Wisconsin accent, and I can't say the Balmer. It's hard for them to get any traction when you're just getting your ass, throwing 4 yards downfield every single down. So that worries me. That does worry me. I don't know if there's a way they can overcome that lack of physicality to beat a team like that.
But I think that physicality is what makes those teams elite right now anyway.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I don't think we ever thought that the Packers had that going into this season. So,
well, but I think they are a little more physical on defense than they have been, especially in the last few years.
Sure.
Better team personnel-wise. But, yeah, no, I agree with you. And clearly the biggest challenge that remains on their schedule will be the Vikings. They're going to have to play really well to beat that team. And that's going to decide whether they win the division, I believe. Maybe not, but they're, with an equal record right now, they beat the Vikings, they're going to win the division.
Now the Vikings have the Seahawks next week.
True.
I
guess what I should say is if they beat the Vikings, they're going to win the division. If they don't, then they've left it up to us. Yeah. All right. We're almost at the hour mark, so I think it's time that we get into our games. And Kevin, you almost ready?
Yeah.
All right, then I'll play the theme song.
True or false, true or false, true or false, true or false. It's time to play True or False.
All right, Kev, what do you got with true or false this week?
All right. I have a recap, first of all, because I haven't recapped in a while. Yeah. It turns out, guys, my record-keeping ability is not ideal. So you'll notice that you've received an email with the questions already. Patrons, you have also, or patrons who play our games have received it as well.
If you're on the Hall of Fame level, or sorry, the OG level, I don't know.
Something like that.
If you're at a certain level, you get to play our games as well. So anyway.
Yeah. So, I did all the tabulations, all the calculations, all the extrapolations, and here's what we got. In first place so far.
So we do it by percentage because you could join us mid-season and still play. Anyway, sorry, Kev.
Right, exactly. Yes. Good. That's a good point, Chris. We have Kyle Turpinning in first place. He's got a 72% percentage.
Wow.
Actually, it's a funny story. I forgot to include him in the email last week when I sent out my things. But he sent me an email and he said, I don't think I got the email, but I trust James's answers. So give me what James said.
Wow.
James had 4 correct answers because James had a bonus because I could not spell Garoppolo correctly. So James got 4 correctly. So Kyle with a shrewd move there. That was a great, yeah. Well done, because 4 was the most by anybody this past week. So Kyle's in first place. James, you're in second place. Korsmo, you're in second place. And let's see who's in third place. It looks like Chris Korsmo is in third place. I am in last place with a slightly better than 50%.
You're legit in last place?
Yes.
But it's over 50%, which is actually pretty good.
50.91%.
That's actually not bad.
Let's also remind everyone that he's the one who writes the questions.
Well, I put all the effort into writing and very little into answering them. All right. And I don't really put that much into asking them in the first place, come to think of it. Okay, so without further ado, let's move on to this week's questions. All right. James, do you want to go first this week?
Sure, why not?
All right, great. I trust that you guys are going to answer what you've already submitted if you've submitted your answers. So
I'm doing it right now as you speak.
Don't lie. Yeah, I'm going to do it too in real time.
Dude.
All right, so James, question number 1.
Yes.
In games against the NFC North, Daniel Jones' stat line hasn't been as doofy as his face. He's thrown 7 touchdowns and 1 interception in the 3 games he's played to date. True or false? Against the Packers, Daniel Jones will have at least 1 interception.
I believe that is true.
Chris, what do you think?
I believe it's true as well.
I'm going to say true. I think the Packers are due for a turnover of the interception variety. Question number 2. Despite Daniel Jones' relative competency, Saquon Barkley, how do you say Saquon?
Saquon, I think.
Is it really? Okay. Saquon Barkley. That doesn't, why is it a long A? It should be short A. Okay. Saquon Barkley is averaging over 1 yard per carry less this season, 3.9, than last season, where he was averaging 5.0. The Packers are allowing about 4.8 yards per carry this season. True or false, the Packers will hold Barkley to 4.5 yards per carry or less. James?
I'm trying to remember what I submitted earlier. I think I said false. I don't trust this rush defense to say at all. I just don't.
I said the same thing. I said false. This is the Giants, if they're smart, are going to hand him the ball about 40 times. So, and they should. So yeah, false.
And if they get to the point where they're far behind, then they will have. He's already gotten his average, and then they'll pass. So yeah, I agree. I'll say false too. Okay, question number 3. Remember when J.K. Scott was good? One game, he had 1 punt go 66 yards. True or false? In this game, all of J.K. Scott's punts will equal at least 66 yards. Chris, what do you think?
I don't think they're going to punt much, but I think they punt at least twice, and he gets at least 33 yards out of each of them. True.
James?
I agree with everything Chris just said.
Yeah, this question is kind of like, it's kind of a layup, and if it's not, then it's like you missed a layup at the buzzer to win the championship, because if he doesn't punt it 2 times for 66 yards, there's a problem. All right, question number 4. Despite their name, this is a long question, guys, so bear with me. Despite their name, the New York Giants come into this game with a stadium in New Jersey and with players of average height and weight for the NFL. One area where the Giants are a bit larger than normal is the amount of points they allow per game, about 28. True or false, in a rebound game, the Packers will score at least 30 points against the Giants? Chris, what do you think?
True. All gas, no brakes.
James, how about you?
I also say true. I think that I would expect them to against this team.
Well, you guys are doing well at true or false, and I am not doing that well at true or false. So I'm going to go against the grain and say false. They're going to score 29, and they're going to win 29-4. Yes, 29 and a half.
Two safeties.
Well, there's going to be the end of the game to kill.
Field goal at a rouge, not too soon.
All right, and question number 5. The Giants have allowed 13 rushing touchdowns this season. True or false? The Packer running backs will have at least 2 rushing touchdowns versus the Giants. James, what do you think?
Aaron Jones gets 3. I'm going true.
Chris?
False. They get 1 rushing touchdown, but at least 1 in the air.
Ooh, okay. I'm gonna say true because I think they're gonna try to. I think that's gonna be one of these Aaron Jones games. I hope. All right, so those are all the questions for true or false.
Whoops, I wasn't ready. So what was that?
Those are all the questions for true or false.
True or false is now over.
All right, now for our last game of the night, and we'll get out of here. All right, hands on the hood and spread them. Kevin, how does spread them work? How does spread them work?
Spread 'em is a game in which we provide the spread of the game, and you tell us who is going to win in relationship to that spread. I did a terrible job of explaining it, but whatever.
I understood it really well.
All right, great. Well, sweet. All right, so this week's spread, the Packers are -6.5, I believe. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Good, because that's what I got written down.
On the road.
That's a lot of points. James, what do you think?
I'm not gonna break my my strategy. I'm going Giants.
Okay. Chris, what do you think?
I'm gonna take the Packers because I think they win by about 30.
Okay, and I'm gonna take the Packers too. They win by 25.
Beautiful. All right, so that's it for Spread 'em. We're gonna get out of here. Remember, if you're joining us in the live stream or if you're listening on the podcast, you too have a chance to win this beautiful, slightly used AJ Hawk Goodwill jersey purchased in Green Bay. So no proof that AJ Hawk didn't wear it. Got the lovely Super Bowl 45 logo insignia and original retail price at the Goodwill of $8.99. We will ship this free to your house if you win. The way you win is you tweet that you are listening to the Titletown Sound podcast, and it is add your own adjective, but make sure you put hashtag TTSO so that we can follow you and see who entered. We appreciate it. Anybody who wants to enter can do it on Twitter or TikTok. I don't know what that means.
We are way too old for TikTok.
Reach out to us on Twitter for the address to send your handwritten entry. It must be.
Oh, you can enter by postcard as well, right?
Well, no, you have to enter by postage stamp. You have to write your entry on a postage stamp and send that in.
I will accept birds, messenger pigeons.
All right, but before we get out of here, Kevin, do you have anything else to add?
No, I've added enough.
James, how about you?
If you've made it, holy crap, roughly 68 minutes, 69 maybe?
Almost.
Into this thing.
Almost a natural 69.
in honor of the season, tweet us the word gobble. And thanks everybody for listening.
All right, thanks a lot. Thanks to everybody who listened. We had the largest group we've had in the live chat yet this week. It's a lot of fun. We're going to try to do this every Tuesday. That's our goal. Sometimes real life gets in the way, but we'll give you a day's notice when we're going to post. Join us on the live feed on Facebook or watch us on YouTube or just download the podcast. Whatever you do, it really does help us out. Thanks so much. If you're watching the live feed now, make sure to follow us and to subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts. Good night, everybody. Go Pack Go.
The preceding podcast was a production of Productions Institute LLC, copyright 2019, all rights reserved. Don't steal our crap.